moving your dog from the UK to Australia, listen, I absolutely get it. It was by a mile the most stressful part of the process for us. Way more stressful than actually leaving friends and family. Way more stressful than the removal stuff. Like it was horrific. However, this video is going to be about why the stress was there for no reason whatsoever. It's us that creates the stress because we love our furry babies. That's what we do. We love them. And that is why we're stressed, because you read all sorts of horrific things online, in forums, on Reddit, in Facebook groups about, you know, the 0.01% of when things unfortunately go wrong. However, you've got no reason to be stressed. We made the move from the UK to Australia 18 months ago. And look, there he is, sleeping absolutely fine. And we actually had to go through the 30-day quarantine process. So our Beagle Max at the time was 6. He had to do 30 days in quarantine. But the good news is, as of May 2025, the Australian policies have changed, and they've since changed over to a 10-day quarantine process. The process has changed ever so slightly. However, I'm going to explain that process to you now so you understand it. And fortunately for you, your furry little babies have only got to do 10 days in quarantine, which for me is absolutely fantastic. 10 days is like going on holiday, isn't it? You go on holiday, you leave them with someone you trust and love. And I think that's what is the stressful part of it. You're sort of not in control at all when your furry babies leave you, and whether you've used an agency like we did or whether you go through the process yourself, which you can do. I know people that have done it. And you send them on their way, and someone you've never met's looking after them, and it's just like, oh, it's the worst process in the world. But like I said previously at the start of the video, you've got no reason to be stressed at all. He actually put on weight. He was absolutely fine. We spoke to the quarantine facility in Melbourne on a number of occasions, and they literally just, it was so reassuring to hear. You get updates, you can ring them and say, look, how are they getting on? And they're so helpful and friendly. And having seen the facility online, like the videos and that, it's it's like a holiday for them. It really is. But let's get down to it. Let's explain step by step the process that you need to go through in the UK regarding rabies and the vaccinations that they must have in order for them to enter the country and live with you in Australia. Right, so step 1 is the microchip. Your dog, and most people have got a microchip on their dog. Your dog must have a microchip. That's it. That's the first step. Done. Now, step 2 of the process is actually the newest part of the process, whereby your dog or your pet has to have been checked on 2 different occasions and do what they call an identity check by an OV66 authorised qualified vet. So it's an official veterinarian, 66 qualified vet, has to do 2 separate identity checks. But the one catch is that your dog has to have been checked, or your pet has to have been checked by 2 different OV66 veterinarians. They can't be the same person. And basically all that check is the OV66 vet will scan your dog's microchip, confirm the microchip matches the actual paperwork of your application, visually confirm the dog via their breed, colour, and take a picture, then complete and send the official identity confirmation to the Australian authorities. This has to have been done on 2 separate occasions. Now, step 3 is the rabies vaccination itself. Now, the rabies vaccination, all you have to do is call your vet and explain to them, listen, we're going to be moving our dog to Australia. It has to have had the rabies vaccination. And what you'll do is they'll book an appointment and you'll go and get your dog's rabies vaccination done and get that administered. Step 4 of the process is waiting for the rabies vaccination to be in your dog's bloodstream for 3 to 4 weeks. Once the 3 to 4 weeks has passed, you will then book another appointment with your vet and explain to them that you now have to have the RNATT blood test, the RNATT blood test. Now, this is essentially step 5 of the process, whereby you'll go to the vets, get a blood test, and it will confirm whether or not the antibodies from the rabies vaccination have hit a certain criteria, which allows you to move on to the next part of the process. Now, once the RNATT blood test results have come back to you and they've achieved the desired result, you could then move on to step 6 of the process, which is the 180-day wait. You've got to wait 6 months before your dog can officially enter Australia with the rabies vaccination circulating in their bloodstream. It has to have been in them for 6 months. If, unfortunately, your dog's blood test results come back and it doesn't reach the relevant criteria, then you have to administer another rabies vaccination and go through that process again. Now, step 7 of the process is completing your import permit. So everything you've done so far up until this point will be put onto the import paperwork. We did it through an agency because I really couldn't work out what was going on, but I know people that have done it, and you can do it yourselves, which does save you quite a little bit of money. However, you need to make sure that your import permit is perfect. The identity checks are correct, that you've obviously had the rabies vaccination administered into your dog's bloodstream for 6 months, and then send it off to the Australian authorities, and I'll put the link for that website in the comments. Right, now step 8 is the final checks. So your veterinarian must go through the final checks with your pet. This includes a health examination, parasite treatment, so your usual vaccinations that your dog would normally have. It has to ensure that it has all of those done, but you have like a little card and a little checklist like you do, and they tick it off and they stamp it and they do all the relevant things. Tick treatment, and then the final completion of the export paperwork for you. Now, step 9, once everything has been done up until this point, you can finally book your pet's flight, your dog's flight, and they have to go as manifest cargo. Now, what normally happens is you would book your flight, they would stop at a place like Qatar, so our dog there, still sleeping, can you hear him snoring? He went to Qatar, they got off, they go to the toilet, they get fed and watered and stuff, and they do have water with their crate, and they will then be flown to Melbourne to the Mickleham facility, which is actually the quarantine facility. Now, step 10, the quarantine facility. Now, you will get a notification to your email to say that your dog has safely arrived, which was great. When we got it, we were like, oh, thank goodness for that, he's made it, sort of thing. And then, having done the steps of the process that I've included in this video, you will then wait 10 days. Now, you can either go and collect your dog from the quarantine facility yourself, but it's a big drive depending on, well, if you're in Melbourne, it's very, very simple. However, we live in Adelaide, so we had to arrange for an internal flight for him to fly from Melbourne to Adelaide, and then we collected him at Adelaide Airport. Now, finally, just to finish off, that I've got some really positive words to say about the quarantine facility in Melbourne. They were absolutely brilliant, and it is very, 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 exactly the same as them staying in the kennels that when you used to go on holiday. It's exactly what goes to get their own kennel. If you're flying 2 dogs over there, I think they put them together, and it also saves on costs for staying costs. And then they're fed, watered, walked, exactly like they would be in the kennels. We rang up a few times just to get some updates because we were worried, because we hadn't heard anything, but actually no news is good news in this scenario. They were absolutely fine. They had very, very detailed logs of your dog's daily activities. You know, if they missed a meal at any point, like there was one day where he didn't eat his second meal, but that was absolutely it. There was nothing to be concerned about. And like I said, they're very welcoming of phone calls. We give them a call, I think it was 3 or 4 times, and I was like, look, how's he getting on? Like, I'm a worried dad here. And they were absolutely brilliant. Yeah, no worries, let me have a look. No, Max has been absolutely fine. You've got nothing to worry about. The emotional and stressful part of the process, unfortunately, comes from us. But please don't buy into all these horror stories that you read online, because I've spoken to various people now having made the move that have moved their pets over, and they were absolutely fine. You've got nothing to worry about. Right, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. I hope it helped you and helped relieve some of the stress that I know that you go through when you're moving your dog to Australia, because it is stressful, but we create the stress. They have a whale of a time, I assure you. If you like the video, please subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos like this that just break down the finer details of moving to Australia and talking about the stressful parts of things that, you know, that might actually help you out. So if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Peace and love, people.